Iran says that Saudi Arabia must end its support for Takfiri groups and its destabilizing policies in the region. Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Ali Shamkhani, made the remarks during a meeting with the former German Chancellor Gerhard Schroeder in Tehran. Shamkhani said that Riyadh has to choose between supporting terrorist groups and being a constructive player in promoting stability in the Middle East. The Iranian official called for an international campaign against countries supporting the ISIL terrorist group, which operates both in Syria and in Iraq. Schroeder, for his part, said that his country is against ethnic and sectarian differences in the region. He also praised efforts made by Iran in the fight against terror. Heading a trade delegation, Schroeder is in Iran for a 3-day visit. Let's talk to Marcus Papadopoulos, publisher and editor of Politics First, who joins us from London. Marcus Papadopoulos, we know Iran's stance regarding Saudi Arabia in terms of support of terrorists. Iran again is saying that Saudi Arabia must end its support. But since we have Gerhard Schroeder, former Chancellor of Germany in Tehran, let's talk about what Germany leveled against Saudi Arabia just weeks ago, that it's about time that the world does not turn away from Saudi Arabia's support for terrorists, this being Saudi Arabia's funding of these mosques which promotes terrorism. Is there a question mark in people's mind that Saudi Arabia supports terrorism? Because it seems that it's pretty evident that they do so.
Well, I believe that because of news channels like Press TV, because of the internet, because of social media, more and more people in the world are starting to learn, are starting to realize that Saudi Arabia is the leading exporter of Islamist terrorism in the world. Wherever you have found an act of Islamist terrorism, be it the attacks in New York, be it the attacks in London, the attacks in Madrid, etc., there is a signpost pointing back to Saudi Arabia. And of course, Saudi Arabia played the leading role in the creation of Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan during the war against the Russians. It was Saudi Arabia that played the leading role in facilitating the arrival of Mujahideen fighters from Afghanistan into Bosnia in the 1990s to fight against the Bosnian Serbs. And it is Saudi Arabia which has been financing and supporting and arming Islamist groups in Libya and in Syria. So Iran is 110% correct that if you are going to seriously and effectively tackle Islamist terrorism in the world, the focus has got to be on Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia exports a vile and absolute wicked form of Islam, which is not Islam. It's Wahhabism, it's extremist, it's intolerant, it's brutal, and that is the crux of the problem when it comes to Islamist terrorism. And so Iran is right, but quite frankly, because America is a staunch supporter of Saudi Arabia, there is no real inclination for Saudi Arabia to reduce its activities in exporting Islamist extremism to the world. You know, various mosques in Britain, in Sarajevo, in Bosnia, they have sermons from Saudi imams and clerics which are talking about killing non-Muslims, which of course has got nothing to do with Islam. And we had about a year ago the Grand Mufti of either Riyadh or Mecca, I believe, calling for the destruction of all churches on the Arabian Peninsula. So that is the reality of Saudi Arabia. That's the reality of the Saudi royal family. Saudi Arabia and its system is the heart and soul of Islamist terrorism. And most of the attackers, most of the terrorists on 9/11 were, of course, from Saudi Arabia, and so was bin Laden, and so many of the foreign fighters in Syria, the jihadists. Where do they come from? Saudi Arabia. Where are their arms from? Saudi Arabia.
Thank you for that. We appreciate it. Wish we had more time. Marcus Papadopoulos, publisher and editor of Politics First from London. Thanks.